Audrey. Welcome to the Kitchen Underground, where I'm going to show you how to make healthy, delicious, and fresh recipes. Today we're going to make a curried butternut squash soup using coconut milk instead of a dairy as a base. So let's get to know our ingredients a little bit better. The main ingredient we're going to use today is butternut squash. We're going to roast it in the oven to get a little more depth of flavor. Not only is butternut squash delicious, but its bright orange color also gives it numerous health benefits, including it contains high levels of carotenoids, which in your body is converted to vitamin A. This gives you better eyesight and makes your skin really bright. To add a little bit of heat to our soup today, we're going to add some fresh ginger root. You can put it in teas and obviously in soups, and I like to chop it up, put it in stir fries, pretty much anything. Not only is it an anti-inflammatory and reduces swelling within your body, it also, if you're nauseous, it relieves that, and it can also fire up your digestive system. It's a great ingredient to use in so many different dishes. To add some richness to our soup, we're going to use coconut milk. I like to use this as opposed to regular whole milk or heavy cream, and coconut milk is actually really good for you. Although it's really rich and a little bit heavy, it has great properties like lauric acid, which is antifungal and antiviral. To round out the soup, we're going to use some roasted sweet potatoes, some yellow onion, and some leeks. And just to give a little bit of spice, we're going to use our curry powder and a little bit of sea salt. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to want to do is turn the oven on. We're going to roast the sweet potato and the butternut squash at 375 for about an hour. You can also do this the night before if you're running short on time and you know that you're going to make the soup. After our oven is preheated, we're going to give our butternut squash and our sweet potatoes a good wash and then just set them on a sheet pan. If you're running short on time, you can also cut them in half and place them face down in a little bit of like an inch of water, and this will cut your cooking time. Now that we have our squash and sweet potato in the oven, we're going to start by chopping and peeling our onion, ginger, and leeks. So, the first thing we're going to do is cut the top off of the onion. Once we cut the top off, we're going to cut it in half, and then peel the onion, and then dice it up. After we diced up our onion and set it aside in a bowl, we're going to chop our leeks. For the leeks, we're going to cut off the very root part and up to where it starts to turn about dark green. Once we've cut off the root and the dark green part of the leek, we're going to peel off the outer layer. And if they're really dirty, give it a good wash. Next, we're going to cut it into about inch pieces and then set it on the flat part and cut it down the center. Once we have a bigger surface area, we're going to lay that part down on the cutting board and work our knife around the leek to create kind of little butternut. After our leeks and onion are all chopped up and in a bowl, we're going to peel our ginger and chop it up a little bit. For this recipe, we're going to use about a 2-inch piece of ginger, or about 4 tablespoons. For the ginger, we're going to peel the outer layer of skin off, and then we're going to dice it up. And it doesn't have to be a perfect dice because in the end we're going to blend all of our ingredients. When you're choosing ginger, you want it to be a creamy yellow color in the middle. You don't want it to have very many blemishes or it to be too white and stringy. You can tell, it shouldn't be too tough to cut into. Now that we have all of our ingredients chopped, we're gonna go over to our soup pot. I like to cook all of my ingredients in one pot. This way it's a lot easier to clean up and it's good to go. The first thing we're gonna do is turn our burner on to high. Then we're gonna add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil and wait for that to heat up. Once it's heated up, we're gonna saute our ginger, leeks, and onion. And once they become a little translucent and soft, we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. Once you put your vegetables in the pot, you can turn it down to medium and cook it for about 5 to 10 minutes until they're translucent. While that's cooking, let's check on our squash and sweet potatoes. It's looking good. They're both soft to the touch, leaving it in front of my thumb when I press into it. You also want it to be becoming a little caramelized, a little bit brown on top. That's also when you know it's ready. So I'm going to set this aside and let it cool while we finish up the rest of our soup. Once the vegetables are becoming translucent and starting to caramelize, we're going to add 6 cups of water to it, and then let it cook for 10 or 20 minutes, depending on how much time you have. This just melds the flavors with the water. And if your squash is ready, you can always add that into the mixture as well. After our butternut squash and sweet potatoes are out of the oven, and you let them cool for about 10 minutes just so you don't burn your hands, we're going to cut them down the center and scoop out the middle. Sometimes you can also just peel the skin right off, especially with sweet potatoes. It makes it a lot easier. Now that we have this all ready and the rest of our stock is ready to go, we're gonna combine it all in a blender and puree it, and then add the coconut milk at the very end. If you have a handheld immersion blender, that also works really well, and then you don't have to keep transferring it back and forth. But if you're like me and you just have a blender, we're just gonna do it that way. We're gonna add about 1/3 of this mixture to the blender and 1/3 of the water, leeks, onion, and ginger mixture. Blend it, put it in a bowl, and then continue it until we've blended everything. We're also gonna add 3 teaspoons of sea salt and 1 teaspoon of curry powder to this. You can add at any point because we're gonna combine it all into the big pot at the end. Once you've pureed everything and returned it to the pot, we're gonna add our coconut milk. And you might wanna give it a little bit of stir so you get that extra thick coconut on the top into the pot. And then we're gonna give it one more taste just to make sure our seasonings are on point, and we're ready to eat. Yep, I think we're ready to go. And there we have it, a curried butternut squash soup, full of butternut squash, coconut milk, and plenty of ginger and onion to keep the colds away. And it's a great soup for people with allergies like my sister, full of nutrients and really good as well. Join me again next time.